Hello, dudes and dudettes, and welcome to the War Zone. This is SkruffyTalez, and I am the one and only Scruffy. And yes, you read the title of the video correctly. Apparently, Ukraine will be getting even more CV90s from Sweden. And a couple of days ago, we got a statement from the Deputy Minister of Defense in Ukraine, Dmitry Klemenkov, where he said, "It is really what the AFU needs. Powerful, maneuverable, and functional. We need more of them." And he was, of course, referring to the Swedish Strf9040 Charlie. And the Strf9040 is perhaps best known around the world as CV90. So, what we have learned is that in January of 2024, Sweden and Ukraine agreed to ensure that spare parts and repairs can keep the CV90s in Ukraine operational, and that ammunition will be made available. But also that Ukraine will receive additional 20 to 25 CV90s from Sweden. And on top of that, Denmark has agreed to financially support Sweden in the commitment to ensure that Ukraine can keep their CV90s operational, as well as providing them with additional CV90s. The fact that we can expect Ukraine to receive another shipment of 20 to 25 CV90s from Sweden appears to indicate that the Danish money is being put to good use. The question now is if the next batch of CV90s for Ukraine will be Charlie versions or if it will be Bravo CV90s. The Charlie version has improved armor and some other upgrades that a CV90 Bravo does not enjoy. And, as always, Ukraine continues to negotiate with Sweden for production locally in Ukraine. Ukraine has mentioned the goal of fielding as many as 1,000 CV90s, and for that, they need their own production line. But Hägglunds, the manufacturer of CV90 vehicles, has said that no factory will be built in Ukraine during wartime, as it would put Swedish employees at too great a risk. Also, it would make it easier for Russia to infiltrate such a facility and gain access to classified information about the vehicles, something that would affect Swedish defense interests. Never mind should Russia potentially win and overrun Ukraine, thereby gaining access to the factory completely. But let's view the Ukrainian attempts to build their own CV90s as a clear indication that the StrF9040 Charlie is a vehicle that performs beyond the capabilities of any other IFV in the war at the moment. And as a Swede myself, that gives me great comfort knowing that our army fields vehicles that will be extremely effective in defending our borders. Sweden provided Ukraine with 51 CV90s in 2023. Since June of 2023, 2 CV90s have been destroyed, 3 have been damaged, and 1 has been captured. That leaves 45 in working condition, still fighting on the front line. Adding another 20 to 25 to those 45 could bring it up to a total of 70 Strf9040s in Ukrainian service. A respectable number and a force that will most likely strike fear into the hearts of Russian soldiers and commanders alike. So far, it is in the north that we have seen the CV90s in action, fielded by the 14th, 21st and 93rd Mechanized Brigades. The CV90s are tasked with holding the line against continuous Russian attacks, fighting off wave after wave of infantry and armor trying to push through Ukrainian lines. CV90s are fighting outside of Kupiansk, Crimea and Bakhmut, The fighting is hard, and the CV90s have been put to the ultimate test of endurance and capability. But despite Russian efforts, Russia has not managed to break the Swedish-made CV90s, operated by Ukrainian soldiers determined to defend every inch of their homeland from the orc invaders. And as long as a 40mm Bofors has ammunition, Ukraine will hold the line. With the announcement that Ukraine will receive another shipment of Swedish Strf9040, the question is if that means that Sweden will acquire even more CV90s with the 35mm chain gun. It has been announced that Sweden will replace the CV90s deployed to Ukraine with freshly built CV90 Mark IIIs, vehicles that do not use the Swedish 40mm autocannon, but instead a 35mm Bushmaster chain gun. Why Sweden has chosen to move away from the 40mm autocannon is cause of much speculation online. One possibility is that Sweden has received frontline data from Ukraine that shows some drawbacks of the 40mm Bofors in the heat of battle. Another possibility is to streamline logistics with future NATO allies by choosing a weapon and ammunition that is favored by NATO members. A third possibility is that Sweden felt it needed new vehicles as quickly as possible, so therefore put in an order for the best available vehicle that was ready to be produced, seeing as developing a new, modern and advanced turret with a 40mm will take years of design work, tests and trials before production can even begin. Whatever the case, if Ukraine will receive another 20 or 25 CV90s from Sweden, I think we can all assume that Sweden will fill out the gap with even more Strf9035s down the line. That's the end of the video. Thank you for watching. I think it's safe to say that Ukraine really do enjoy the CV90s. They want more CV90s. They want to build their own CV90s. And my guess is that the news that Ukraine will get even more CV90s is something that Russia is not all that fond of. So, with all that said, go på marsch, Ukraine. Give them hell.